Well, Michael Sharkie, the halfway mark of the AFL season has just been and gone, 11 rounds in, and not a great deal's changed, to be honest. Abbott's still firm favourite for the Brownlow. Geelong is still a firm premiership favourite. Thanks for joining me.
In a tanning salon too, by the judging by these bright
the
lights
lights
that are scorching my corneas.
Stick my tongue out and almost touched it. Anyway, we'll
move towards the light Norts.
We'll go into all the Norton. We'll go into all the footy news in a sec, or the betting news, I should say. But first, we'll get the news from Nat. She's rather disconsolate this week. I've never seen someone so sad after Slam and Sam Stoser lost the French Open final.
Like a sad puppy dog.
That's right. Off to you, sad puppy dog, for all the footy news.
Thanks for that, Jake. And yes, I'm still a little bit shattered after Sammy's shock loss, but I think I'll live. Moving on to footy news, and your boys Essendon will be without ruckman David Hill and small forward Angus Mumphreys for the next couple of games after they both sustained hamstring injuries last week. The Bombers take on the Cats on Saturday night, with Geelong Premiership forward Cam Mooney likely to be missing with an injured ankle, while Tom Hawkins has been sidelined indefinitely with a hot spot in his foot. Exiled Tiger Daniel Connors has earned an immediate recall into the Richmond side that takes on West Coast this Sunday, following the end of his 8-week club-imposed suspension for an alcohol-related incident. And an already injury-plagued Brisbane Lions backline has been dealt a double blow, with Ash McGrath expected to be sidelined for around a month with a hamstring tear, and Matt Maguire set to miss up to a month with tendinitis in his left foot. And that's the latest footy news for now. Back to you guys.
Thanks for putting on a brave face for us, Nat. Shark, did you know that Nat and her brother Jason were both watching the French Open women's finals together, and both were sobbing in tears after the game?
Yes.
Like full on. Jason was apparently
some people
sobbing.
cry in girly love story movies, some people cry over spilt milk, and the Edwards clan, you sooks.
Yeah.
Tennis games, you got to be kidding.
That's right. Let's move on to the footy, a more manly game. Although that was quite a manly French Open women's final, I have to admit.
Indeed it was. Yes, some serious bicep action
That's
going on
right.
there.
Nevertheless,
Wow.
you said to me a few minutes ago, Shark, that Tyson Edwards had absolutely no impact last week for Adelaide in his final game.
None
35
whatsoever.
odd possessions and a couple of goals and a few goal victory over Freo.
Yeah, no, none whatsoever. I didn't even know he was playing, to be honest.
I think, well, he was a spiritual leader on the day, given that it was his last game. He misses for the Crows this week, and they're 3-10 outsiders against Hawthorn, who are 144. I know Hawthorn have won their last 4, but they're not travelling that well. They fell over the line against Port. I'm not convinced at all. I think 144 is too short about the Hawks.
They'll flog the Crows.
Flog the Crows.
Yeah, Hodgie and the boys just storming on. Yep.
I don't know.
Win again.
I'm not certainly not saying that Adelaide are anywhere near finals capacity or anything like that, but Hawthorn at 144, I'm not having a bar of that.
Who's going to be the spiritual leader this week? Hitchcock or Halfcock, or what's his name?
Perhaps Simon Goodwin in his 10th last game for the Crows. That might get them over the line.
Indeed.
Essendon Geelong's an interesting game, I think, Shark. Geelong 126 favourites and Essendon 460, purely because Geelong will be without a host of their tall forwards. Well, it looks that
Will it make a difference?
Hawkins obviously not playing again. Mooney in doubt, as is Potsy Adley. I think it'll make a huge difference. Who are they going to kick to? Kerry Stokes and Sideburns up
I'd kick
front.
it to Sideburns.
Sidesy.
What about little Chappie running around?
Chappie's been playing through the midfield, but they all kick goals. Steve Johnson's probably the main one.
Stevie
Johnson probably
J.
kicked 12.
The hulking, massive man flesh, Stevie J,
That's
just
right.
charging out of the full forward.
Going around like a chicken through the Geelong forward line. He's a gun though, but
Very good.
I think had David Hill been playing for Essendon, there would have been a real chance of Essendon winning this game, because without Brad Ottens, I think Geelong suffer in the tools department.
Wishful thinking, I think, yeah, Norts.
Potentially. You can't really accuse me of wishful thinking, because I'm Essendon's biggest knocker as well as a fan. But
Oh, you are slowly catching that bandwagon, though.
I am, all aboard.
You are
they're
chasing
back
down that dirt road.
Behind the legend out 5 and 6, I'm off the Bombers again. I'm Greater West Sydney man. Kevin Sheedy was on the ABC on Q&A on Monday night, and I was just like I was in heaven for an hour. It was bliss.
Has he signed any Lawn Bowls players or anything this week?
Yeah, probably. Freo St Kilda, I reckon, is an interesting one this week. It's one of many games where the betting's quite close together. Richmond West Coast is another one. Sydney and Port is another one where both teams are around the even money mark. St Kilda 236 outsiders.
Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? Freo 172 on the back of a loss to Adelaide last week. Is that too short? 172 about Freo?
I don't know. They're going to be hungry to avenge that defeat, I would have thought. St Kilda aren't too bad over there, aren't they?
St Kilda played very well over there in the last couple of years.
Probably not a game I'd like to be betting in, but...
And I think they're just flying under the radar, the Saints. given that obviously Rewald's not playing, but they've got to 8-3 at the halfway mark. I think it's a pretty darn good effort, personally. I'm going to have something on St Kilda at 2.36. I think they represent the good value of the round. And the one game, I think, where there's a certainty of the rounds on the Queen's birthday holiday on Monday, I think Collingwood and Morals to defeat Melbourne at 1.19. I think that's better than bank interest. I'll quickly chat about the long-range markets for the Premiership and what have you, just after we get Nat's Betfair Big Spruik of the Week. Over to you, Nat.
The Betfair Big Spruik.
Well, boys, I think there are a couple of games this weekend which offer pretty good value, so I might do another Oz multi. I'm looking at Sydney at $2.06. The Swans have won the last 5 against Port Adelaide, and I think they look like the better side at the moment. The other game I like the look of is Richmond v West Coast. The Eagles showed something against Geelong last week. I know they faded in the last quarter, bet at around even money. I'm happy to back them to beat the Tigers.
Thanks, Nat. Nat blinded again by her obsession with Mark Lacroix there, tipping the Eagles.
It's becoming a bit sad.
It's becoming a bit embarrassing, I think, for Nat. But anyway...
The tattoo? Has she shown you the tattoo?
Nat's tattoo?
Maybe that's one for another time.
Wow. That might be one for off air. I don't know what to say. Before I get your Betfair Big Spruik, Mick, I just want to quickly mention at the halfway point, I think it's poignant to do so, the Premiership market. Geelong 280 favourites, 282 favourites I should say. Collingwood now second favourites at 580. St Kilda and the Dogs, the other two, under double figures at Freo at 15. Can the flag go outside those top 4, Geelong, Collingwood, St Kilda and the Dogs, in your opinion?
It won't go outside the top 1.
Geelong?
All the way.
I'm with you on that one. Ablett's drifted in the Brownlow. He's $3.40 last week out to $4 this week. Judd and Hodge and Swan the next behind him. Is it back-to-back for Gary at this point of the year, do you think?
If Carlton keep winning games, I wouldn't mind something on Judd at $10. I think that's a good price.
I agree with you there. I think Sandilands will poll very well too. He's clearly the best ruckman in the competition. Pav's been outstanding as well, but I think Sandilands been arguably their best player in just about every of their victories. And the Coleman's a really interesting one because we have 4 or 5 players now that Jack Rewald's really kicked into contention of late. Favola is $3.75, Pavlich and Hall around the $5.50 mark. Jonathan Brown's been a drifter out to 10, and Jack Rewald at 11. Imagine if Jack Rewald did the unthinkable and won the Coleman medal. He's kicked 35 odd goals, and the next best at Richmond's kicked about 3.
Indeed, that would be unthinkable, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine the celebrations.
Shark, what's your Betfair Big Spruik for round 12?
We'll just keep it short and sweet this week with an Oz multi, and we'll go Hawthorn at $1.44, Geelong at $1.26, and the Pies at $1.20,
yeah,
$1.19.
I'm not going to mess around with an Oz multi this week. I'm just going straight for the jugular with the Pies. Have everything you can on them at 1.19. I think they'll win and win comfortably. Mick, thanks for joining me again.
Not a problem, Norton.
Thanks to you and to Nat as ever. Punters, best of luck in round 12, and we'll catch up with you before round 13.